Our next speaker is back signing books. So we'll bring him up here in a little bit. If you haven't had a chance to go by and see Dr. Sonny Magana back in the corner, you need to do so. One, we purchased about 300 copies of his books to give away in the STEM playground out of our STEM budget, the T3 framework. So Sonny, it's about your time. You want to come on up? So Dr. Magana is an award-winning teacher. He is a best-selling author and pioneering education technology researcher. He has spent 4 decades of research for his T3 framework, which is disruptive classroom technologies. Over the past couple months, we've had the pleasure of getting to know each other digitally, and some days I'm proud to have him here. After everything we've went through to get him here in the States, I'm just proud that he got here. He actually got to experience Atlanta, Georgia's airport a little more than I think he would have wished to before flying over here. But we're proud to have him. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about himself, tell you about his book. That said, he has a few breakout sessions, and I hope that you look him up in those sessions. He'll go into a deeper dive in the framework. Our office is actually doing a book study on this. We've had to put it on the shelf for a couple weeks because we've just been insanely busy, but we're going to pick it back up real quickly. And it's been a good experience for my office in diving in. So with no further ado, Dr. Magana, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's hear it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ed. Anthony, I'm just going to speak from the range. Okay. Can you hear me out there? Is this thing on? I can hear you breathing. I'm just going to say a few remarks about this work, but I'm going to start off with this. At the end of my remarks, everybody gets a book. Everybody gets a book. I'm indebted to the Department of Education here in the great state of Arkansas for supporting my work. But there's an asterisk. Only if you're interested in doubling student achievement. Are you interested in doubling student achievement? Is this thing on? Are you interested in doubling student achievement? You know, in 1969, President John F. Kennedy's dream of putting a man on the moon were realized. That dream was realized, and when I was 8 years old, I watched Neil Armstrong take the first human step on the lunar landscape in the cold, dark vacuum of space. President Kennedy challenged Americans with the moon shot to put a man on the moon, and it seemed impossible. It seemed unrealistic. It seemed quixotic. It seemed crazy. An impossible dream. 8 years later, that dream was realized. We need a moonshot in education right now. This is our time to double student achievement with technology. And the reality is, it's not going to require more work from teachers. I'm going to say that again. It's not going to require more work from teachers. If teachers go home at the end of the day more cognitively exhausted than their students, they're not doing it right. Put the heavy load on kids. They want to learn more. They want to expand beyond the limitations of the curriculum. They want autonomy. They want voice. They want choice. They want to build their own agency and efficacy. So in my book, I've introduced a framework for innovation. It's called the T3 framework. And in that T3 framework, I introduce a way for students to imagine themselves learning at very high levels. It starts with imagine. The question is how? How do we get kids to double achievement? And with the T3 framework, there are 3 stages of technology use and impact: translational, transformational, and transcendent. In transformational technology use, we just do in a digital forum what we once did in an analog forum. We're simply automating tasks to save time, to reduce errors, or to increase efficiency. Or we're in the consumption stage, where we just consume information. Neither of those two elements has led to an increase in student achievement. So we've spent almost $86 billion on technology here in the United States, and we don't have a heck of a lot to show for it. The reason is that we've been using it in a translational way. In transformational use, students are the ones that are producing their own representations of knowledge. They're using all these resources you see around you to represent what they know, what they can do, and how they think about both. Making student thinking explicit through digital representation changes the role of the learner from a passive recipient of knowledge, a passive consumer of information, to an active generator of knowledge and information. At the contribution level, students contribute to each other's learning. They contribute their own way of understanding key concepts in math, science, social studies, language arts, English language. In the final stage, transcendent technology use, students engage in inquiry design. They learn how to solve wicked problems that matter to them. Instead of following a predestined inquiry cycle where there's a known question, a known problem with a known solution, it's important to have students wrestle with wicked problems for which there are no known solutions, and engage in the process of social entrepreneurship. Now, I'm a researcher, but there are actually 5 levels of research. Personal experience, which is low validity, low reliability. Collective experience, it's almost as bad as personal experience. Very low reliability, but now you've got collective bias, not just individual bias. Systematic observation. That's the stage where we enter the world of science. We enter the world of investigation to mitigate errors and biases. And the 4th level is compounding evidence. And that's where we have not just one study, but dozens, maybe hundreds of studies. The 5th level is the preponderance of evidence. That's where we have thousands of studies that show the impacts of 2 variables. John Hattie has really revolutionized our thinking about research by creating what he calls an effect size. And this effect size meter shows the range of influences that have an impact on student achievement. Some things actually hurt achievement. Retention hurts achievement. Poverty hurts achievement. There are things that have a moderate impact on achievement and things that have a very high impact on achievement. The impact of technology on achievement has been a dismal 0.34. So have we developed learning environments that are technologically rich but innovatively poor? And what I think we've been doing is just following a planar shift. We've been moving from an industrial age system to a digital age system and just adding technology on an old system. We need to have an axial shift, which is a change in consciousness from having kids only memorize old knowledge to having kids focus on self-mastery, self-regulation, and well-being. And that's why I wrote my book, Disruptive Classroom Technologies, to help support this change. And did I say everybody gets a free book? Everybody gets a free book. So here's how I can sum up my research in a rock and roll metaphor. When it comes to modern teaching and learning, high impact pedagogy is the melody. High impact technology use adds the harmonies. And together you get great music. That's it. Technology should be harmonious. It should not replace the pedagogy. And I learned this when I was playing the guitar. I learned how to play guitar, and I was very happy doing it for a number of years. And then I heard Eddie Van Halen play, and it totally disrupted my thinking about what a guitar should sound like and be like. And Eddie's framework helped me really, it disrupted my thinking about what effective teaching and learning, or what my guitar playing might look like. So he said, if you're just sitting around the campfire playing guitar, keep doing that, but know you're in a stage. If you want to get better, you got to go through another stage, and that's when you start playing like Chuck Berry. You got to learn how to rock out. You got to learn how to play all those riffs. That stage stayed with me for a long time. That framework really helped me think through different ways of moving through my musicianship, from translational, transformational to transcendent. From playing the same songs over and over again, to learning new chords and melodies and structures, to creating my own way of expressing myself. And that framework is really where the T3 framework for innovation was born. It was born in rock and roll, because high impact pedagogy is the melody. We have to have teaching and learning strategies that are highly impactful. And then it can be enhanced by technology, which is an accelerator. If you're a crappy guitarist and you buy a Marshall Stack amp, you're going to be louder, but it's not going to make you a better guitar player. You'll just be crappy louder. Technology is an accelerant. We need to change our pedagogical model so that students move away from just automating and consuming information, and instead have kids engaged in transformational technology use, where they're engaged in production. Have kids produce representations of their learning. Have learners self-evaluate, actively assess their learning. Have kids contribute to the learning of others. Kids teaching kids works. It works at every level of learning: surface learning, deeper learning, and knowledge transfer. That's John Hattie's model. John Hattie was the first person who reviewed my book, and he said that the T3 framework has advanced visible learning a major step forward. The effect size of my strategies are not 1.6, or not 1.3, but 1.6. That's off Hattie's scale. An effect size of 1.6 is a quadrupling of student achievement. I'm going to say that again. An effect size of 1.6 is a quadrupling of achievement. We can achieve very, very high levels if we put students at the focus of the experience. So students are more involved in planning for their learning, monitoring and tracking their effort, their progress, and their affect, representing and expressing their learning, and assessing their strategies. The strategies of my transformational domain help students master current learning. But that's not all. We also have to help students master future learning by engaging in inquiry design, where they investigate, identify, and hypothesize solutions to wicked problems that matter to them. And then they engage in social entrepreneurship, where they look for ways to solve these problems by developing an understanding of these wicked problems that matter. And these are the Sustainable Goals for Development from the United Nations. These are 17 domains of wicked problems. We should teach these domains of problems. We should have students investigate these problems and engage in social entrepreneurship to learn how to solve these problems using technologies to create new tools, new apps, and new platforms to solve wicked problems that matter to them. Transcendent teaching and learning prepares students for the future. And arguably, that is the purpose of education, to prepare students for the present and the future. The question is how? And I've developed that answer to that question with the T3 framework. But don't take my word for it. Listen to what these folks had to say. Robert Marzano wrote the foreword to the book. John Hattie wrote about the book. Michael Fullen wrote about the book. Fullen called the T3 framework a brilliant breakthrough in our understanding and use of technology for learning. Yang Zhao said it's a refreshing way of experiencing technology. Alan November calls me an innovation Sherpa. And John Hattie, who I quoted several times, read the book and said, the T3 challenge, it's credible, it's powerful, and exciting. Let's do it. Now, I'll be giving a keynote at 3 o'clock today, but my research, my findings that went into this book, which is free, thanks to the Department of Education, was just inducted into the University of Oxford's Research Encyclopedia for Education. That means the T3 framework is the only model for accelerating student learning with technology that's been peer-reviewed and and vetted at the highest level of scholarship in the English language. So I invite you to learn more. Take the T3 challenge. Learn how to double academic achievement in your school and realize education's moonshot, which seems crazy, it seems impossible, but to double student achievement takes imagination. Can you imagine doubling student achievement in your schools? Well, thank you very much for your time. If you want more information, this is a QR code. Come and scan it. Learn more about the T3 framework of my work. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm indebted to the Department of Education in Arkansas. Anthony Owens, thank you very much for having me. Everybody gets a book. Make sure you sign up, and I'll sign it for you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Anthony, for having me.
Thank you, and don't run off yet, because besides a free book, do you mind helping me give out some free door prizes here? You don't get my Pepsi, sorry. I'm going to hide that. Nobody gets that. So, he has not seen this list, so why don't you give me a couple numbers between 1 and 131?
How about 72?
72. So 72 is Joel Spencer from code.org, and I know he's in the room. Joel, come on up. Joel, because I know you can use this, you get an ADE special tripod. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Give me another number there, please.
63.
63. 63 is Grover Welch from Newport High School. Is Grover in here? No? Okay, well, we'll mark him. We'll get it to it. Let's see here. Where was that? Okay, how about another number?
33.
33. 33 is Matt Young with the Arkansas Arts Academy. Is Matt in the room? Okay. One more.
58.
58. This is a completely random number generator. How about Audrey Rowland from McGee School District? Come on, Audrey. Audrey, can you use a tripod also? Not only is she getting, by the way, she's not just getting a cheesy tripod, though they are decent for what they are. She's getting a microbit kit, one of our CS for AR pad folios that hold a iPad. Since we got Apple in the room, you don't get an iPad with it. Go talk to Mark McDougall about that. Sasha Savvy Loves to Code book, our CS for AR logo sticker, and a 8 gig lanyard. So, thank you. And for your help in helping us present, I know you probably have limited space in your luggage.
Thank you.
But we would love to send you at least with one of our pad folios and and another book, Sasha Savvy. So, thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much. Such
Appreciate
a pleasure.
you.
Really
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Cheers.
Okay, we'll be back shortly with our next speaker.